Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're gonna do something different. I have a watercolor combination that I want to show you. So I'm going to show you the colors, and I highly recommend getting one of these little books. You can get them on Amazon, most any Hobby Lobby type store. And this is what I keep my wet media combos in. From my water crayons, soluble crayons, to my watercolors. I highly recommend this. So, the formula I have is about 20% cerulean blue deep from M. Graham, which is this one. And from, I cannot pronounce the name of it, D. Raleigh. It's kind of a generic thing, but it's still really good. It's just like your average regular black. Kind of a warm black though. That's this one right here. It's a warm black. I can tell because I can see the brown in it. I have, and that's only about maybe 15%. The intense blue is about from Cotman, which is like the Winsor Newton's like student grade watercolor. Still excellent stuff. This is actually the most, 40%. And it's funny because when you see the end result, you're gonna like the thing that has the most in the mix shows up the least, and the thing that is the two things that are the least show up the most. It's really strange. I don't know enough yet to understand why that's a thing, other than maybe some are just more pigmented than others, perhaps. I know Payne's gray typically can be very pigmented. Cerulean blue deep is also very pigmented, so I think that's part of it. And then I have Van Gogh's Payne's gray, which is only about 10%, and yet you can very much see it. And then I have this paint from Van Gogh called Oxide Black. I absolutely adore this paint. It is a granulating watercolor. And you can tell, and it's also very warm, but that's the but you could definitely see it a little bit right up in here. And this is the end result. I named it Storm Clouds because that's what I thought of when I made that mix. I was like, oh, that looks like storm clouds. So that's the end result right there. This Oxide Black though is a fascinating color. Before I mix all this up, I want to show you a little bit about this color from Van Gogh. It's worth taking a little side detour on because it's absolutely incredible. So this is the Van Gogh. Now you see how you can tell it's granulating, and the paper I have not pre-wet it with anything. It's just dry. But you can tell it's granulating because you can see the little pigments that are kind of making like little tiny dots. That's the pigment. That's the granulating part of it. So I'm gonna pull that up and let you see. Hopefully you can see. Cool, right? And you can tell. I mean, it's one of those things you'll know it when you see it. And as you layer with it, it just gets. I used this color when I was doing shadows for an Easter picture that I did. And boy, did it work out perfect. Now, the other thing about this color, if you let it set for a bit, this is the Oxide Black right here, and if you let it set for a bit, it will completely change its appearance. And what that is that's one of the ways you could tell if a color is granulating. is that it when you if you let it settle for a bit, it'll change, and then when you stir it, it'll change back. It's absolutely incredible. So let's see. Do you see? Now look at that. Do you see? Can you see that? It completely changed colors. It was kind of, it had kind of changed to like this, like a dark brown almost, and now it's black, like a warm black. That's one of the ways you can tell a paint is pigment, is that if it changes color when you mix it back up, and if it settles. So that's a little bonus tip for you. So let's see. I think I don't think the other two are granulating. I know that the cerulean blue deep and the intense blue are also extremely staining. So when you mess with them, especially the cerulean blue from M. Cotman, these are so staining right here. It can stain your hands a little bit, your skin. So just be aware when you're messing with these two colors. Anything that's kind of this intense blue, which is these two right here, that's the cerulean and that's the intense, extremely staining. So as you can tell, look at it's changing color again. Sorry, I hate to go back to this, but look, do you see how it looks kind of like this, like almost a sepia? Do you see how it's changing? I'm doing this because this color like blew my mind when I got it. Do you see how it kind of, as you kind of twirl it around, or I'm twirling it around, you see how it changes? Now watch this. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? It just like completely changed colors. It's kind of mind-blowing, you know? So, having digressed a little bit, I had to, because I was like, I have to share this color with you guys. It's really great if you want to do shadows in stonework, you know, things of that sort. It's excellent for a warm shadow. Okay, so I'm gonna do, since I did that, I'm gonna do these colors kind of on their own so you can see what they look like, and then I'll do them together to make that mix. So let's see, I did the oxide black, so we're gonna do the Payne's Gray from Van Gogh, which is, I'm in love with Van Gogh and Cotman, especially in M. Graham. They're all amazing. Van Gogh's like on another level. It's really great if you're, you know, on a budget. Their paints are not super expensive, and you see how translucent that is. Don't let that fool you, because it is one of those magic colors. Like people talk about some Prismacolors that way. I think this Payne's Gray, especially when it's intense like this is from the Van Gogh, it can be mixed with so many colors. It's just unbelievable, and it makes the most magic things. I think Payne's Gray mixed with French ultramarine. Ooh. I don't have that out, but I'm just saying, you guys, that is an incredible color. You should try it. French ultramarine is a hard color to find, though. I think there's only 1 or 2 companies that make it. It's incredible. Okay, here's the intense blue. Look how saturated that is. And that will stain. And staining can be good if you want to, kind of like when you're using Inktense, you want something to kind of not completely disappear when you put stuff over it. These 2 staining ones, the cerulean and the intense blue, they will do that. And you can lift them up just like that. So say you get too much, like I kind of did there, just do that and it will pick it right up. Make sure your brush is a little bit dry. It doesn't have to be like dry, but you know, not sopping wet. And you can just put it, and I highly recommend these little ceramic palettes. Sorry. They are an absolute must. I think I paid $10 for this. It's not expensive at all. They're well worth it because you can use staining things, graining things. You don't have to worry about them getting super messy and icky. I'm just kind of peevish about, I don't work like that. It's just, you know, makes me all feel all, I don't know, OCD or something. But anyway, that's how you can do that if you get too much on it. So the other color is the Cerulean Blue Deep from M. Graham, and they are another budget friendly, although not as budget friendly as the others so far, but they are still reasonable. I still consider them mid-level price. I think I need more. I absolutely love this color. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Here, let me push this over. That is absolutely remarkable. It's a remarkable color. It has that cerulean, but with just some really beautiful, like, green undertones to me. It's an amazing color. Now, this brand I got, honestly, I picked a set of them up at Walmart, but they're also available on the internet. They don't sell too much of them open stock, but you can get a whole set of like 36 or something, I don't know, for like $10. But they're really pigmented for being, you know, super budget super budget watercolors. But they're really reasonable, especially if you're just learning. They're really nice just to start out with. They're not bad at all for being the price point that they are. They're really quite reasonable. Are they as good as like some of these others? No, but they're not bad either. So that's just my food for thought there. Okay, so we have all the colors swatched out, and that's what they look like on their own. Okay, so I'll show you that. Ta-da! Now, this is what they look like mixed up. So I'm gonna put this over here for a second. Now, the reason why I say like 40%, 20%, because that just kind of tells me that I need like a lot of this one thing, like say the intense blue is the majority of what's in there. The Payne's Gray is 10%, so it's just a little bit, you know, and you won't be able to get exactly, you know, 10% exact. That's just my way of saying it's a little, it's a lot, you know, just a middle amount. So it's a guide basically, and this is what it should look, something akin to this. May not be exactly, but it's okay. So we're going to take our cerulean, and according to this, I have about 20%, so that's, you know, that's like a medium amount. And you want to start out being cautious at first. And this is the thing that I see the most of, even though it's 20% and it's not the most. This is what to me shows up the most, is the Cerulean Blue Deep. It's very strange. I think, like I said, I think the pigmentation has something to do with it. Make sure you rinse your brush out in between, you know, mixing colors in, because I want to keep my colors pure when they're in those sides. So that's why these kind of little palettes are amazing. So the intense blue is the most, so I'm gonna put that in there. I hope that you find what I do to be valuable in some way or useful. It's fun to me. It's something I picked up at the beginning of the pandemic, and I've just been running with it ever since. It's been quite the journey, I must say. So I've got the generic black here, that from Raleigh. Just a little bit. It says my thing says 15%, so it's a medium amount. And again, it's a warm black, which is why it works. Okay, so now we've got the Payne's Gray, which it says about 10%, so it's not a lot. And that's because this Payne's Gray is so pigmented. A little goes a long way. It's going to go up within the pigments themselves just because they're the pigments that they are. But the student grade or better, they tend to use less fillers and binders and, you know, things of that sort. So now we get the Payne's Gray, and here comes the magic color, which is the, look at that. See how you stir it and it changes it, and it looks more black and less brown? I'm telling you, that's the granulating part of it. It's just it kind of like just gives me the artistic goosies, as I call it. So let's see. And it's important to be cautious at first and you're gonna have to like play around with it until you kind of get what you want. But it's pretty close. That's all it is. Ooh, that's pretty close. I don't know, guys. We'll test here. So we got the color up here, and I'm going to oh yeah, you could definitely tell there's granulating paint in this because it's the way it's beading on the paper. It travels in a way that is really good, like if you're doing sand or something of that sort. Granulating paint is the way to go. It gives you kind of an interesting texture. What do you think, guys? I don't know. I feel like it's close, but I think it needs a little, I think it needs to be a little darker, so maybe a little more Payne's Gray. We'll just add a little more Payne's Gray here. And I think a little more of the cerulean, maybe. Let me rinse my brush out real quick. It's important to go slowly when you're trying to recreate a mix like this, to go slowly and take your time, because you never know. It's easier to add and make the color stronger than it is to kind of weaken it. So let's try this again. There we go. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous, you guys? It's gorgeous. I'm going to lift some up just. But the way that's, and I did not pre-wet this paper whatsoever. But it'd be fun to see what it looks like, how it travels pre-wetted, don't you think? That is amazing. Look at that. That's definitely the ticket. That did it. That is pretty close. It needed a little more cerulean deep and a little more Payne's Gray. That's pretty darn close. This one is definitely closer. So, we got it. Now, what I'm going to do is show you guys how it looks when it's been wetted. I think that would be fun. Let's try that. So I'm going to grab my brush, and this is a Princeton snap brush, a size 10 round. Excuse me, my allergies are going nuts today. Still that time of year. Okay, let's get this. You don't want it like super wet, but you don't want it like dry in this case. All right, let's grab some of this and let's have some fun here. Now, when you're doing something like this, it's also important to, make sure you guys can see, is to kind of do that so you don't have too much. So you dip your brush in and then just drag it let it rest for a second, and then finish dragging it. Okay, that way you don't get too much too fast. Okay, if you just dip it in the paint and then put it onto the paper, it's not gonna, you're gonna end up with a problem. I trust me, I've been there. I've been there, done that. Okay, we don't want this to dry, so let's get on with it here. Ooh, hey. Oh, look at that. Let's try pushing it around, see what happens. Pushing the paint around like this is also a good way to sort of distribute it evenly. You want to barely just touch the paper. When it dots like that, you can either leave it for a nice cool little effect, or you can just push it around till it disappears. Famous for my rabbit trails on YouTube, I'm sure. Okay. Ooh-wee. Look at that. That is kind of cool. I'm gonna grab a little of this. Ooh-wee. Now, I may get some cauliflowers from this, and I don't care. I know people are like, oh, cauliflowers. No, I actually like cauliflowers. I have learned to embrace the cauliflowers. Because I did it so much when I was very first learning. I love how this is spiking on the sides. Like, it's all fluffy and soft, and it's kind of, and you can get rid of that if you want to. I like it. I think it's cool. But if you want to get rid of it, just grab your paintbrush, kind of clean it, dry it a little bit so it's not like dripping water, and just grab your brush and kind of go like that. But you want to do so very lightly because you don't want to lift too much paint off, especially when you have a background like that. See, I kind of did that right there, so I gotta cover it up. There you go, see? It's easy peasy to get rid of if you don't want it. It's all about experimenting and having fun and not being worried whether you can. You do me, and I have fun, and I enjoy it. And now, back to this. Now that this has had a chance to dry some, I think that's pretty close. Whoops, I don't want to pick this up too much. I actually don't want to ruin that heart. I really like that. That's so pretty. I can't wait to see what that looks like dry. So, what do you think, guys? It's pretty close, right? This one is definitely closer. That's pretty close. It's not quite as dark, but that's just, you know, layering would take care of that. And if you wanted it a little bit darker, you could add a little more black to your mix. I mean, I could add a little more of the regular black. And watch this, it'll completely change it. Just a dab, like 1 or 2 light dabs into your black section, and look, you'll see how much it'll change it. And it just completely changes it. This is how you get rid of the little uneven parts. There. Ta-da! See, and look at that, just a little bit of black, and I completely changed it. So, I hope you guys had fun with this. I know I did. I can't wait to see what this looks like dry. You know what? Hold on, I'm gonna dry it real quick. All right, I couldn't wait. I had to show you guys. Okay, so what do you think? So, yeah, I had to show you. I could not. So, if you really want to do this, you don't necessarily have to have these brands, okay? It's just Cerulean Blue Deep, and it's from M. Graham. Intense Blue, and I believe it was Cotman. I forgot to write it down here. I'm gonna do that. Which is like, again, that's the student grade for Winsor Newton. Then the Rowley, which is like a generic thing. Black, but any warm black will do. Okay, it's gray, 10%. Depends on if you want more of a like a darker feel, then you can add a little more. And then the Oxide Black, which is from Van Gogh, and the Payne's Gray was from Van Gogh. And that's pretty much this one right here. And you could see what I adjusted it by just adding a little more of the black. So, you know, it's just, it's fun. I hope you really enjoyed this. Yeah, just relax, have fun, don't take it too seriously, and just enjoy yourselves, and you'd be surprised what happens. Have a good one, guys. Bye.